they are in good spirits and safe.
So the Samut Flotilla did not complete its mission technically, but would you say it was a success? And if so, why?
So one objective was to take aid, food, um, baby formula, medicine, and that part was not successful, as you correctly point out. But what was inherent in the whole mission was also to bring attention to the plight of the Palestinians and the starvation that the Gazans particularly are experiencing. The Global Samut Flotilla internationally is top of the agenda, the most watched news item in a lot of places, very well spoken about on social media, in the press. So, in terms of bringing attention to the plight of the Palestinians and getting people on board to be able to talk about it, to turn up at protests, all of that has been a major success. Of course, we have every reason to believe that. If we do a post-analysis of the entire mission, there are more positive than negatives that come out of it. And certainly, it's going to be going forward with another higher level. Even as we speak, we can say that 9 ships from another flotilla, the Freedom Flotilla, is on its way to Gaza. And many more will join in the coming days, in the coming weeks. And that's a different initiative, but same mission, to break the siege on Gaza, to deliver humanitarian aid, and to make Gaza the central topic of discussion amongst lots of people, simply because that's what's required.
Not everyone's in agreement, and there are, of course, those who are wholly opposed to what you are doing. We heard from Minister Ronald Lamula saying that the South African government only played a diplomatic role, and he had to clarify this because those who are not in favor were complaining about government money and taxes being used to bring back the activists. So what specific interventions, did the South African government make? And just to clarify once again from your perspective, what sort of aid was had from government and what your organizations, the different organizations, actually paid for?
I can categorically support what Minister Lamola said. They acted in a diplomatic role to facilitate the return of South African citizens. Isn't that what we expect from our government and from our Department of International Affairs? They did a sterling job in galvanizing support through diplomatic channels, from the president right down to every ambassador, staff member, consular staff member. They did what they're supposed to do. In terms of the financial aspects, our organization, the Palestinian Solidarity Organization, and other Palestinian Solidarity organizations allied to the cause of the Palestinians and family members cover the cost of the return of the South Africans. Categorically can state that on the record.
Well, Sunny, we'll leave that there. And of course, we'll follow up, seeing that those activists are expected back on home soil tomorrow morning. Sunny Morgan is spokesperson for the Global Samut Flotilla South Africa.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.1 FM in Bombela. Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
11 minutes before 1. And we're still watching, and we can tell you the ad hoc committee is still in adjournment. There's nothing that we've heard so far. We don't know what's happening. They are still deliberating in camera. So we'll let you know as soon as there's any further development. But in the meantime, let's bring you up to speed with this. The high-profile case against the businessman Vusmuzi Kat Matlala has been postponed until November the 11th as the National Prosecuting Authority moves to centralize 7 linked dockets from across Gauteng. Now, Matlala Matlala and 4 accused appeared briefly this morning at the Alexandra Magistrates Court. He faces charges of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and money laundering relating to the 2023 shooting of actress Tebogo Tobejane. The NPA says that consolidating the cases will streamline prosecution before transferring the matter to the Johannesburg High Court. For the latest, we join on the line by our reporter Pearl Magubane. Pearl, good afternoon. Just to bring us up to speed with the latest from the Alexandra Magistrates Court regarding Vusumuzi Kat Matlala's appearance today, the streamlining of cases. What has the NPA said, and where do these cases originate from?
Good afternoon, Sakina, and to the listeners. Well, initially they had said, I think a month ago, it was the 7 cases that they are looking into. But today they indicated that out of those 7, there's just 2 main cases from Pretoria, also attempted murder cases relating to a taxi owner and one of the DJs there. However, the other cases, and they're not going to be linked as yet because they feel that with the 2 Pretoria cases, they have a strong case there and all those dockets are complete and can be consolidated into this one, and therefore that's the only 2 cases they're going to move forward with, including this one of Tebogo Tobejane.
So how soon can this case be expected to move to the Johannesburg High Court, Pearl?
Well, we are coming back on the 11th of November here in Alexandra, and according to the NPA, they're at the advanced stage of finalizing all the paperwork and signatures that are needed before they can proceed. They did say that the Director of Public Prosecution has agreed with that decision to consolidate just the additional 2 cases for now, and that's what they're going to move it. So hopefully on the 11th, then we will know when the matter is going to be transferred to the High Court. But they want to go there knowing that he's going to, it's just one docket that he's going to attend to instead of separate cases in different courtrooms.
So does that mean that all of those cases are somehow linked, Pearl?
Yes, they say they're linked, although in the case of Matlala himself, it's the conspiracy and the attempted murder. But the hitmen, the 2 hitmen that are part of this case are also part of Katiso Molefe's other cases where it's alleged that they used the same gun or they were called to do similar hits, and those are going to be looked at. Also, Katiso is also coming back on the 11th of November, also at Alexandra Magistrates Court, and they're hoping to also finalize all those cases and before they can move to the High Court.
Pearl Makubane, thanks so much for the update. SABC News reporter watching that one for us.
Good day, Sakina, your producers and 2 listeners. Sakina, I'm sorry, my voice is gone. I've got a cold. Sakina, there is already an interference, or should I say a political interference in the ad hoc committee in Parliament. I decided to raise the issues with the ad hoc committee chair on Thursday, but it was ignored. Then I decided to raise the issues the next morning with the members of the committee, which is different parties that are actually involved in the committee, including the EFF and the MK. I need to take this opportunity to thank them, Sakina, for responding swiftly to stop this issue of Babalwa being used to actually stop emails coming from South Africans that are actually victims of those said claims and being witnesses around the country. And again, Sakina, there is a lot that is actually going on behind the scenes there at the HOTCO committee, and people are making sure that we do not appear so that they may not be exposed for failing us and for failing the country, for refusing us to appear before the the Portfolio Committee on Justice, the Portfolio Committee on Police, because these are the committees that actually failed a lot to make General Mkwanazi to raise these issues via media briefing. It's Fixing Bambi in Cape Town. Thank you.
Good day. Bishop Makwana from Leboa Home Zone. Look, Sakina, I'm getting dumbfounded, shocked at why would people want to send tributes left and right to Nathi Mthethwa, a guy who's a direct criminal. Look, we might as well then celebrate those that were killing people. We must then celebrate Kat Matlala and Katiso Molefe, because why would we celebrate Nathi Mthethwa? Nathi Mthethwa is a case of him transporting drugs from Durban to Gauteng. That's why I believe Mukwanas when he says he sent such evil Demoduli case, because this guy was a direct criminal and we are celebrating him. We're even sending him wishes. Why do we do that?
Good afternoon, Sakina, and the listeners of the show. Sakina, what happened in Parliament today about General Mukwanazi? This matter, the cartel case, was supposed to be dealt with in Parliament at the first place, not the Madlanga Commission, which is wasting a lot of resources and money on and time. The case that is supposed to be taking 2 days in Parliament, it will take 6 to 3 years using the Madlanga Commission because they are playing the tax tactics just to get paid. And everyone was supposed to be summoned from your Kate Matlada, everyone, Fikile Mbalula, Brian Mokhoti, to get to the matter and reveal more people who are corrupt within the politician. Brian Mabai Protect, and thanks for the
Thanks so much, everyone. And of course, if we have more time, we'll squeeze in a few more. But just another story that we want to bring you an update on. It's 5 minutes before 1. Now, COSATU in the Western Cape is marching to Parliament and the provincial legislature against retrenchments, weak economic growth, and the rising cost of living. COSATU's provincial secretary, Malvin de Bruin, says that they will also march to the Cape Town Civic Centre to hand over another memorandum regarding the high electricity and water tariffs to the city's mayor.
Yeah, we go into the legislature. We're also handing over a memorandum to the national government as well. And I think the question of job losses, the bloodbath that workers have been faced with on a daily basis is a concern to COSATU. We've seen that the question of decent work, that there's no real decent work for our people. And COSATU is saying that government should do more, the province should do more to employ more local people. We are saying that they must get away with the question of labor brokering. They must get away with the question of EPWPs because that's not real jobs. We want real jobs for our people. That's why we are going there today.
You're also going to the Civic Centre and you're saying that the issue there is with water and electricity tariffs. What do you want City Council to do?
Yeah, we're going to the city of Cape Town because what we've seen in Cape Town is a question of high water levies, those taxes that they added to your account as a normal citizen. We're saying that the high electricity bill, tariffs, the high water tariffs in our province, in our city is a major, major concern. We've seen that the city recently passed a budget that is anti-poor, a budget that is hitting the poorest of the poor the most, and the city don't care about the people. We're saying to them they must reverse all those decisions and come back with a program, or with a plan, of a budget that look after the interests of the working class, that they should cut all the tariffs that is now currently attached to your water bill, electricity bill.
Marvin, we also see quite a number of Palestinian flags around and quite a few well-known faces of pro-Palestinian supporters here today. You yourself, you're wearing the keffiyeh. Today marks the second anniversary of what we've been seen happening in Palestine, Israel over the past 2 years. Is this an amalgamated march, or is the PSC and other organizations supporting COSATU in its main message?
Yeah, COSATU in the recent CC made it very clear in our support for the Palestinian people. So we had a resolution that covers that. And today we are saying the people of PSC are here to support COSATU, but we've got one voice to the national government, we've got one message to the national government and the provincial government. We are saying that our government must cut all ties with the Israeli government. We are saying close all those embassies, because what we've seen in Palestine is not a war. What we see in Palestine is genocide. So we can't keep quiet while the people are slaughtered on a daily basis by the Israeli government. We're saying we want the immediate ceasefire in Palestine and no conditions attached to that.
That was COSATU's Provincial Secretary, Malvin de Bruin, in conversation with our reporter Vanessa Puna earlier. But for the latest, we join on the line now by another of our reporters following this march, Corbin August. Corbin, good afternoon. So where is the march currently at, and what's currently happening?
Well, good day to you and to the listeners. Of course, COSATU in the Western Cape is marching today in Cape Town. And they started in the city centre, where after they moved to the Western Cape Provincial Legislature. And right now they're moving from the legislature towards the Civic Centre in the city of Cape Town. And of course, COSATU is saying that they are marching for better jobs for workers. So they are also marching as part of their program to mark the International Day of Decent Work around the globe.
And Corbin, who is receiving the memorandum, for the city of Cape Town, and also for the other entities where they wish to deliver these demands?
Well, the Director General of in the Premier's office for the Western Cape was on hand to receive the memorandum of their demands when they were at the Western Cape Provincial Legislature. And in response, he said that the provincial government does have a plan to create more jobs and also to make those jobs more better for workers, to improve the conditions for living and for workers across the province. And now that they're making their way towards the city, they say that they are expecting the mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill Lewis, to come out and receive their memorandum with the given to them. They are just about arriving here at the Civic Centre, which is the City of Cape Town's offices right now, where they will be handing over that memorandum, also calling for better jobs, for a moratorium to be placed on retrenchments across the board, and also just to fight for better wages for workers.
And the turnout, Corbin, what's that been like?
Moderate estimate would be a few hundred workers and members of various unions affiliated to COSATU, along with a big group of pro-Palestinian supporters who have come out to also support the struggle of the workers and also add their voice to the concerns that have been raised by COSATU.
Corbin August, thanks so much for the update. As you heard, those marchers now approaching the Cape Town Civic Centre to hand over a memorandum regarding the high electricity and water tariffs to the city's mayor. That's where we'll have to leave it for this afternoon, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow. Thanks to the production team. Thanks to everybody who tuned in, participated in any other way. And it's time now for the latest news with Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Sakina and the team. On the top stories, MPs raise concerns over Parliament's ad hoc committee post-Madlanga Commission, and JSC interviews underway. For SAFM News, I'm Ondela Mbana, and a very good day. Parliament's ad hoc committees closed to deliberations. Members are now discussing the way forward after arguing that the committee should not be treated like a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The committee was established to probe KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. He is the committee's first witness. The committee's chairperson is Mulapi Lekhanyane.
I'm going to request we do like this. We must get a report from the team because they are now back, and I'm going to release all people who are not members of the committee, so that the committee makes a decision on the manner of proceedings.
The National Prosecuting Authority has confirmed that businessman Kat Matlala intends to appeal the decision of the Alexandra Magistrates Court in Johannesburg to deny him bail. Matlala was denied bail last month after he failed to convince the court that he was neither a flight risk and nor a danger to society. Matlala and 4 others made a brief court appearance, and the matter was postponed to the 11th of next month to allow the NPA to centralize charges from 2 other separate matters. They are accused of orchestrating the failed assassination of Matlala's former partner socialite Tebogo Tobejane in October 2023. NPA spokesperson Pindi Mjonondwane says they will oppose the application.
We can confirm as the NPA that we received their motion. He intends to appeal the decision of the Alexandra Magistrates Court that denied him bail. And furthermore, as the state, we can indicate that we are in the process of preparing ourselves to oppose his application. We believe that this court was not misdirected, whether in law or factually. We'll be opposing his application. However, we are still awaiting a date for the set down of that hearing.
Services at the Home Affairs offices in the Pretoria CBD have been disrupted. This after scores of people blocked the entrance to the offices, demanding the unblocking of their identity documents. The situation prompted law enforcement officers to divert traffic away from the area. One of the protesters, Moses Mabuza, says Home Affairs authorities blocked his identity document in 2012 with no explanation.
They broke my ID 2015. Like stuck. I can get my money from the bank, see retirement. My money is sitting there in the bank. My bank account is closed. I'm suffering. I staff. Please, I'm suffering.
Supreme Court of Appeal Judge Nambi Dambuza has emphasized the importance of giving all South Africans access to justice. She's the first candidate that the Judicial Service Commission is interviewing for one of two positions in the Constitutional Court. The JSC interviews to fill the positions in the Apex Court are expected to take place over a 2-day period. About 7 candidates will be interrogated for the vacancies. Judge Dambuza says ensuring access to justice is not negotiable.
I think in the areas that I am involved in, I would say the rules are the engine room. They are the engine room of the judiciary. They direct how courts work. The procedures that we determine there have a wide impact on access to justice. And I think that's where we can focus. How we allow people to come to our courts is at the heart of access to justice.
The International Relations Department has confirmed the safe arrival of flotilla activists in Jordan. This after Israeli forces detained them in international waters while en route to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. Minister Ronald Lamola has thanked all relevant parties, both domestically and internationally, for ensuring the return of the South Africans. Bonolo Baribe has more.
The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has confirmed the safe arrival of the flotilla activists in Jordan. South Africa's ambassador to Jordan, Tselane Mukwena, was present to receive the delegation on behalf of the country. The department further says that the activists are expected to arrive at OR Tambo International Airport tomorrow morning.
Recapping the top story, Parliament's ad hoc committee is closed to deliberations. Members are now discussing the way forward after arguing that the committee should not be treated like a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. I'm on Delambana for SFM News headlines at 1:30.
I don't love going to school. I don't love sitting in a classroom with 50 other children. But I do love learning. Ndiyakuthanda ukufunda isiXhosa as a language. I do love getting good grades. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 28 November.
Gordon Ramsay is back, and your favorite kitchen disasters are still somehow in business. New season, same confused chefs, terrifying walk-ins, and enough grease to fry your Wi-Fi. Watch as Gordon tries to fix the unfixable with nothing but sheer rage, British sarcasm, and an iron stomach. Kitchen Nightmares Season 8, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on S3. Come for the food, stay for the emotional damage.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
attractive, I'm alright. Urge impossible to find. You want me over and over now. I white flag you anyhow. Perfect notes on me, perfect time, perfect pieces all in line.
It is the vibrant sounds of 340 Mil featuring Thandiso Mazwai on the vocals there. And that song is Made It Happen. When did we speak to them? We spoke to them last year when they were preparing for that 3-night, one-time only reunion out in Cape Town. You guys had hounded them enough that they considered coming together for just the weekend. Beautiful song. I didn't even choose this song this morning. I don't know who's responsible for it, but great choice. 340 Mil featuring Thandiso, Make It Happen. Hey, good afternoon to you. How are you doing? I hope that you are good. It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. We are back for full programming this week, at very least until the 13th, when that Madlanga Commission commences, and then we go back to our sort of fluid programming. But today we've got a full calendar for you. We are going to be touching base with the head of education rights at Section 27, and we're having a conversation that's exploring a very urgent topic, right? It needs urgent intervention from a community to a collective societal perspective with multiple stakeholders. And we're going to be having a conversation around predators in our schools. And what do we do about that? Because Teddy Bear Foundation, alongside other NGOs, NPOs, have taken the Department of Basic Education and various others to court for ignoring the National Child Protection Register. So that's the conversation on hand. What do we do about predators in our schools? That's the question I want to ask you guys. What do we do about predators in our schools? Feel free to share your thoughts. 086 000 2032 and 0614104107. Because now it seems as though, children are not just in danger when they are outside of the schooling parameters, even inside school. We're finding more and more cases of educators, of staff members, people that are actually in the school environment that are now violating children, raping them, abusing them. And it's just really, it's one case after the other. So what do we do about predators in our schools? Then we are going to switch gears and get into stages, pages, screens, and more. And then one of our other conversations is looking at palliative care. There's a campaign that has captured the essence of palliative care with the aim of empowerment and education. We'll find out more what that campaign entails. And then we'll wrap up the show with a look into the mental health crises, particularly in South African workspaces, and what must employers do there. Would love to hear from you. 086 000 2032 is our voice, it's our WhatsApp line, rather, where you can send voice notes. And, I just lied to the people. And you watched me lie to the people. I just gave them our telephone numbers, and it's our WhatsApp number. 086 000 2032 is our telephone number, and 0614104107, that's our WhatsApp number. Let's take a quick pause.
Hi everyone, my name is Itumele Nkune, SABC Sport football analyst. When I feel down and I listen to gospel, it gives me motivation. I'm a person who loves all genres. If I was a chef, my favorite meal that I would prepare would be pap, cabbage, meaty bones, with a bit of acha on the side. My favorite language is Portuguese. Bom dia, como está? Estou bem. What I like about SABC Sport is they give you the platform and the permission to be yourself and speak any language.
Catch the ever-passionate Itumele Nkune's analysis of Ibola Leju on match days, live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times.
Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
So that's the question we're putting to you is what do we do with predators in our school? And we ask this question because Teddy Bear Foundation is taking the Department of Basic Education and others to court for ignoring the National Child Protection Register. And we've got Zinette Suji, who's the head of education rights at Section 27. And they are representing Teddy Bear Foundation in this matter that's been presented at the Gauteng High Court. How are you doing this afternoon, Zinette?
Good afternoon. I'm well, thanks, and yourself, Bridget?
I'm great. Thank you so much, and we appreciate the time. Maybe let's get some context as to the matter that saw the various stakeholders like Teddy Bear Foundation and yourself taking this issue to court.
Sure, thank you. So this case actually stems from a case that Section 27 was involved in, and we were representing the parents of a learner who was raped at a school in the Northwest, and she was raped by a caretaker. And we represented the parent of this learner together with the Teddy Bear Foundation at the time because when the learner was raped and it was reported, the various education authorities, which included the principal, the SGB district, the Northwest Department of Education, had failed to take the caretaker or hold him to account. And they had failed to also comply with any of their legislative and policy obligations on what should have happened in terms of a disciplinary. And when we had to go to court to mandate them to actually do that, that would have entailed suspension, disciplinary hearing, and we then got an order. It was unopposed, and we got the order in 2022. Subsequent to that order, the disciplinary hearing was held, and he was found guilty. The recommendation was that he be dismissed. When the school principal, SGB, then decided to dismiss him, we then informed the Northwest Department of Education to actually have him placed on the National Child Protection Register. They had failed to do that. So we at Section 27 then reached out to the Department of Social Development because they are the custodian of the National Child Protection Register, and we said, this is a decision that we've received. Please, this man is unsuitable to work with a child, with children. Can you please place him on the register, which they then did. And it was this case that actually got us to start interrogating our schools and the various role players that are mandated and obligated in terms of the Children's Act, which regulates the National Child Protection Register. Are they actually doing their job? And we started interrogating this, which has then, over 2 years of evidence building, has brought us to this point of going to court.
And then in the 2 years of interrogating whether or not the various stakeholders were doing their job, what came to the fore here? Because I'm then assuming that part of the motivating factor to go to court is the realization that, in fact, there has been a grave failure by the various stakeholders.
Sure. So I think it's first important for us to know who are the various role players, right? So the Department of Social Development is the custodian of the register. They need to keep records, make sure that people are reporting names. Are they receiving all of this? Are the various departments that I'm going to take you through, which is the Department of Basic Education, are they particularly requesting access to the register to vet all of their employees? So that's the important one. Then you have the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, and their role in all of this is that the various courts because the register also includes criminal, civil, and disciplinary processes that can be recorded, right? So people who are found guilty or unsuitable in all of those fora, they need to then report. So are all of the courts actually doing that? And the Department of Justice should be able to regulate that courts are actually reporting names to the Department of Social Development. And then you have the Department of Basic Education, who is core to this application, because they need to ensure that all employees in the education system are being vetted, together with the provincial education departments, because they have concurrent jurisdiction. They also are responsible for the employment of educators. So you have those two, it's all of your 9 provincial departments, as well as the Department of Basic Education. And then and what we have then also done, we also reached out to 2 further education authorities who are important, which is the Educators Labour Relations Council and the South African Council of Educators. And the South African Council of Educators has their own record and register of educators. They need to make sure that there's compliance. They're regulated in terms of the South African Council of Educators Act, and are they vetting? And also their disciplinary processes of any misconduct that's reported to by learners against educators. They run their own parallel process of disciplinary proceedings. So when an educator is being accused of any kind of misconduct, the provincial department needs to run one, and SACE runs their own. So is SACE also reporting any of these names to the Department of Social Development? So those were all of the interrogation that we have to undergo. And what we had then found that there's definitely gaps. So you have all courts that don't necessarily report to the Department of Social Development. You had DBE, who has not fully vetted all of these, all of their employees. The legislation is quite blatant and on how it should have been done. It should have been within 12 months of the act coming into effect. This has not happened. We know that the vetting process only started in 2023. The numbers of educators that have been vetted are quite low. It's starkly low. And we have, just to give you an idea, and this is part of the case, is that if you take a province like Mpumalanga, where on the DBE's own version is that there's only 82 educators that have been vetted, and this was up until March of this year. So this was the most recent statistics and data that we had. So it's quite shocking on the low numbers of vetting, and knowing that in terms of the Act, and this is another important note, is that in terms of the Act, the DBE, the PEDs, which are the provincial education departments, have access, and they should have access to the register. Despite all of this, we've seen that they're not vetting. So what this application is trying to do is to make sure that vetting takes place, and that also names are also reported to the Department of Social Development.
Zanette, what is creating, do we have any idea, or have, Section 27 sort of identified any reasoning as to why there's this stalling of vetting? I mean, if legislation is there that speaks to the various stakeholders and role players within education must follow these processes, why does it seem like there is a reluctance to do so? And considering the background of our country and knowing what we're dealing with when it comes to the vulnerability of children?
I think that the kind of challenges that have been raised is obviously resources, lack of, it's both human resources, financial resources. And I think that, so even though the importance of it is noted, I think that there's obviously these kind of challenges that have always been raised. And I look forward to actually seeing what the department puts up in answering papers to give us a bit more of an explanation as to why it hasn't fully taken place, because they do have access. And I think it's I think it could also be that how do our departments actually talking to each other? I think that's the important thing. What's the relationships like between the departments to actually move together and have a cohesive working way of working and operating in order to make sure that each department is actually doing their job so that we can actually get vetting completed. Because I think that there are breakdowns in systems that we might not be able or being privy to because the Children's Act requires such a intergovernmental approach to the way the register operates.
Now, I know that one of the role players, and correct me if I'm wrong, the South African Council of Educators reported that during 2023-2024, they received around 600 cases, of which 148 were related to sexual abuse by educators. Obviously, I'm not even sure if these numbers correlate with the reality on the ground. This is just the kids and families that were brave enough to report. With these kinds of figures, and considering that you've just named them as one of the role players who are named in your application, for them then, what becomes the reluctance in following through? Because you said they are one of the key role players in this. What becomes the reluctance in ensuring that their members, educators, those who play a role in the sector are vetted?
Sure. I mean, those numbers, again, are quite... It's so indicative of the reality, Bridget, and I think you've said this. The pervasiveness of sexual violence in the country it's just it's absolutely shocking. I think that with SAFE we know that these are, as you said, it's only cases that are reported. It's only by educators, and what SAFE has not given us a lot of information to work with, but one of the more important ones were that they don't have access to the register, which is problematic. And the second is that, again, it's, as I was saying, that the departments don't talk to each other. So SAFE needs to then approach DSD. Is DSD giving access to it? What is the process? Are there delays in giving access? How quick are those turnaround times? We haven't heard from the South African Council of Educators since we've served the application on them. I would like to see what their reasons for the delays are, and I think that the reporting and the thing that we don't realize with the statistics that they've put up is that these are only cases that they managed to conclude. They also have backlog of cases. So how many of those cases might still include, if you look at the completion or cases that have been completed as well, there's very few, and they still have a backlog. So they're also struggling with resources, and both financial and human resources. And I think that these are going to be some of the challenges that they raise, or that I'm anticipating that they would be raising.
Zanette, let's just hold it there, pause it there for a second. We'll come back on the other side. Let's take the headline news. It's just gone 1:30.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, Parliament's ad hoc committee is closed to deliberations. Members are now discussing the way forward after arguing that the committee should not be treated like a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. COSATU in the Western Cape says it is marching in Cape Town today for better jobs for workers. Demonstrators are marching to the Western Cape Provincial Legislature and the Cape Town Civic Centre. And President Donald Trump says he's considering invoking emergency powers to overcome opposition to the use of National Guard troops to police U.S. cities. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
You know, part of the interesting thing about having conversations like this, and we're in conversation with Zinette Suji, who's the head of education rights at Section 27, and we're just getting an understanding around a matter that they have approached the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria about seeking an order against various role players within education, including the Departments of Social Development, as well as the Department of Basic Education and the South African Council of Educators, amongst others, to discharge their constitutional and legislative obligations to maintain and implement the National Child Protection Register. And this comes on the back of a case that they handled in 2022, where a pupil was raped by a caretaker at the school in the Northwest Province. It's interesting when we have this conversation, because I think one of the other very key and important stakeholders, when it comes to our children and when it comes to their safety and protection in various spaces, including schools, one of the key stakeholders is parents, right? And how parents begin to hold various bodies accountable. And yet I asked the question at the beginning of this conversation, Zinette, to say, what do we do about predators in our schools? And I just threw that out to my listeners, who I can almost guarantee 8 out of 10 are parents with children at school going age. And yet we're silent. We take the approach of silence, because if it's not affecting my child, then I don't have a puppy in this fight. And in essence, the protection and the safety of children in schools should be everybody's concern, whether you're at a private school, government school, Model C school, rural school, urban school. You should be the voice that is driving the likes of Zinette and Section 27 to fight a good fight. And here's a question thrown out to say, what do we do about perpetrators? And you can hear a church mouse in the studio.
Yeah, that is so true. I can't agree with you more on the importance of parents being, so instrumental in this. And I think that it's also about, being more present at what is happening at schools. Is it being reported? Who are the teachers? And also understanding that these are the steps that the department needs to take to make sure that these schools are safe. What are the choices that parents are making when they're placing learners into schools? Are they considering all of this? Are they asking these relevant questions? And I think that this will start changing the dynamic if parents are going to be a lot more involved in the schooling of their children.
Because, for me, it almost becomes a thing, and I don't know when my kid grows up and they get to schooling, if I'll still have the sense of agency in me, but I pray to God that I do, because I almost feel like, if, for instance, when it comes to asking the right questions, if as the SGB or just the parents who come to the meeting, if you actually did stand up there and ask a principal, how many of the staff or have you vetted the staff and the teachers, including yourself as the principal, in the school? If you can't answer that, there's a cause for concern, because then it means the principal and everyone else must take it one level higher and one level higher to say, but we need to be able to answer our parents when they say, have we vetted everybody on school campus?
Yes, and also, Bridget, it came to my attention that also, I'll take it a step further. Vetting is one thing, but it's also understanding policies, and how many of the educators even know what their policy obligations are, what are their legislative obligations. And we need to be asking this, because a lot of these educators are in schools but are completely ignorant of what their legal obligations are, not only from, like in terms of vetting, in terms of when a case is reported to them, how do they handle it, what should they be doing. And most of them don't know that a policy for sexual abuse and sexual harassment even exists. And this is really worrying, because how are these cases then actually dealt with, and how are these perpetrators actually being held to account, and if they are. So it's so it's such a multifaceted thing. It's about educating, it's about informing at every level, at the educator level, the principals, districts, SGBs, how equipped are SGBs and capacitating them? Are they able to deal with disciplinary hearings? As you know, in the case that I just told, that I related earlier, the SGB did not know what they should be doing. They did nothing. So how, when we electing SGBs also, and this is another important note for parents, when those SGB meetings are called, how many parents do attend those SGB meetings? Who are you electing in the SGB as an SGB member? How are you choosing those members, etc.? So those are things that parents should be considering.
Yeah. Let's go to our lines. Our lines are open on 086 000 2032. That's our in-studio call line. And 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp. Azania, how are you?
Hey, not too bad, Bridget. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, my thing is, I think your guess is spot on, man. There's a lot of bad responsibility from all the different stakeholders when it comes to our kids' education. I personally have had some horrible experiences with my daughter's school principals and the executives there. They literally manhandled me numerous times when I tried to see when my daughter told me she was getting bullied and all stuff like that. I don't think the people that work with the education department are hands-on about our kids' safety. And also sex trafficking is a big industry, remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they could... I beg your pardon?
No, I said absolutely.
I'm just saying that they could be more hands-on, and then sex trafficking is a big business. They should be more hands-on with it, because sex trafficking is a very big business.
Yeah, Azania, we hear you. Thank you so much for your contribution. And Azania, they're saying that, everybody should be a bit more hands-on, from the educators to ourselves, and also bringing up the issue of sex trafficking, which also affects children in school. Let's just take a quick pause here, and then we'll come back and wrap it up with Zanette, and maybe take one or two calls also when we get back.
Let's rewind 6 years, when Twitter was still Twitter, not a letter of the alphabet. TikTok was simply the sound your clock made. And Zoom just meant enlarging a picture. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Hello. My name is Rifilwe Madubo, also known as Fikile Maponya, your rich, bougie auntie who takes no nonsense. I made it out of the ghetto and into the penthouse, CEO of Maponya Media. Make sure to catch Generations The Legacy every Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. SABC 1.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC 1's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso, together with guests, unpack the crisis and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to The Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to The Full Circle.
All right, let's go straight to WhatsApp, because we're fast running out of time on this 061 410 4107.
Good afternoon. When it comes to the vetting of teachers, the public sector is way behind. Independent schools vet their teachers very carefully, and they not only vet, they also monitor. So I don't understand why public schools and government cannot do it. Like everything in the private sector has rules, procedures, has processes, but the government those things don't exist. I just don't understand it. Eddie from Sinjura.
Good afternoon, SAFM. And this is VA from Mohale City in Krugersdorp. Coming to the issue of vetting teachers, and the SGB at the school. They are not getting vetted. We know for the fact that there are SGBs who are so rotten, who are selling drugs to the very same children, and teachers who are still abusing those kids. The SGB's role at the school is for tenders and to protect the principal. Thank you.
All right, we're going to leave it there for this afternoon. Perhaps, Zinette, a little bit of a nugget, a parting shot from you.
No, I think, thank you so much for having me, but I think it's, I think my call is for people to be a lot more aware of what is happening in schools, to report incidents and make sure that if we can only achieve and safer schools if all stakeholders, including parents, actually work together. And let's hope that we get there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time. That was my guest, Zinette Suji, Head of Education Rights at Section 27. It's just gone 20 to 2 o'clock. We're going to hit a quick pause. We come back and we catch up with the director of My Name is Lucy Barton for Stages, Pages, Screens and more.
Join us Tuesday at 6 on Afternoon Express as we join entertainer and DJ Luke McPherson to chat about what comes next after his 30th birthday. Musical artist Baby Days joins us in studio to catch us up on all the latest. We look back on Mani Libok's journey to becoming a professional rugby player. Raul de Mornay and Malco Bay finally tied the knot, and Afternoon Express was invited to the wedding. That's Tuesday evening at 6 with repeats on Sunday mornings at 8:30 only on S3.
SAFM's award-winning drama department presents to you the radio drama series Skyline.
Press that to cockpit, medical emergency now.
Cabin crew to your stations.
Where the skies promise adventure, but behind the cabin doors, untold secrets are found.
He's signing off on cheap parts they installed like it's nothing.
Catch the radio drama series every Saturday at 9 p.m. on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. Stages, pages, screens, and more on the Full Circle.
Yes, indeedy. It is Stages, Pages, Screens and More. And following its acclaimed South African premiere last year, How Now Brown Cow is proud to present the multiple award-winning My Name is Lucy Barton, and it's coming through for 3 shows only. We are catching up quickly with director of the production, Charmaine Weir-Smith. How are you doing this afternoon, Charmaine?
Hello, Bridget. I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the time. All right, let's get straight into it. So My Name is Lucy Barton. Give us a little bit of a synopsis here for the show, because it is coming back after a very successful year last year.
Yes. We had 2 great runs, in one at the Baxter in Cape Town and then at the theatre on the Square in Sandton. And now we'll be at Woordfeest at the festival for 3 shows, like you said. Lucy Barton, I think, has been so well received by audiences because it's a play about family and how you have to know where you come from and how much your family influences you as an adult. So very often the adult choices we make are because of our origins. Where do we come from? Who is our family? And it's a memory play in the sense that the character Lucy Barton has to go back into her memory to make sense of her life. And her memory allows her to go to incredibly dysfunctional places, but also very revealing places. So, yeah. That's the basic story.
And this one is actually written by a Pulitzer Prize winner. Give us some background on the writer.
So Elizabeth Strout is the writer, and she's written, the novel was called My Name is Lucy Barton. And then it was adapted for the stage by a playwright called Rona Munro. And the first iteration of it, the first production was Laura Linney, who people will know as a well-known Hollywood actress and television star. And she did My Name is Lucy Barton for the stage. And we, both Julianne and I, Julianne McDowell is the actress, we fell in love with the text. We absolutely fell in love with it. And it's a one-person show, so that comes with its own set of challenges and joys as a performer. So Julianne took hold of it and connected with it and has done the most extraordinary job playing this character of Lucy Barton, along with a whole bunch of other characters that she plays in the piece.
Oh, wow. Okay, so very interesting. So it's a single-hander, but with multiple characters.
Multiple characters, because it's a memory play, and so she's constantly dipping into her past, and then she comes back to her future. And I think that's why audiences have responded so well, because it's certainly not a static piece. It's a piece that moves in and out of the past and the future and the present, and it has multiple characters, which the actress plays.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. Now, it's 3 shows only. And as you said, it's going to be at the Toyota Stellenbosch Woordfees. Dates, 11, 12, 13.
11th, 12th, 13th, and we've got a 10 o'clock in the morning show, an 8 p.m. show, and a 1 o'clock in the afternoon show. So there's time for everybody to get to go and see it.
Wonderful. And then by way of ticketing, where do we go, Charmaine?
You know, I think if you type in Toyota Stellenbosch Woordfees, it will come up, but I think it's web tickets, if I'm not mistaken. But if you just type in Toyota Woordfees, it'll come up, and then you can book for any ticket.
We'll double check with my producing team to see who's the ticketing outlet. But congratulations on another run on this one. Sounds like a wonderful play.
Thank you.
If only one was in Stellenbosch. That was Charmaine Weir-Smith, director of the production. My Name is Lucy Barton, and it's on 11, 12, 13th of October at the Toyota Stellenbosch Woordfees. So if you find yourself around that side, just got a little bit of confirmation that Quicket is where you can go if you want to buy your tickets. That is Quicket, and it stars Julianne McDowell as the lead actress. We are going to shift gears for just a bit, and we're going to have a conversation that looks at end of life and palliative care. And there's a campaign that was launched, a photographic campaign to capture the dignity, comfort, and support that patients facing life-threatening illnesses often receive. Let's take a quick pause. It's just gone 10 to 2 o'clock.
This October month, SFM joins the world in breast cancer awareness. We bring you conversations that highlight the importance of early detection, survivor stories that inspire hope, and expert advice that could save lives. Together, let's spread awareness and support the fight against breast cancer. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to The Full Circle. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are catching up now with Hanneke Luba, who's a board member of the Association of Palliative Care Centres. And we're just looking at this campaign that was launched. It's a powerful photographic campaign that captures the dignity, comfort, and support that patients facing life-threatening illnesses receive and deserve through palliative care. How are you doing this afternoon, Hanneke?
Hi, Bridget. Thank you. I'm doing well. I hope you are fine as well.
I'm awesome. Thank you very much. I guess firstly, before we even get into the campaign, just so people are aware of the work and responsibilities of the Association of Palliative Care Centres?
Yes. So what we do as an association is really to ensure that all the members that are part of our association really provide the best quality palliative care to patients, to people and patients and family members that are referred to them. So a big part is really to ensure that every hospice or every facility that's a member can really provide, and we guarantee that provision of care is professional and of a very high standard. And we also ensure that there's training being done throughout the country to ensure that people have better access to palliative care. So that is our main aim, is really to make sure that care that people deserve, and in a time when they really need it, that it is possible, that it is available, and that the care is really professional.
In this space, just out of curiosity, Hanneke, in this space, is membership to the association mandatory or voluntary?
It's voluntary. We try to encourage all facilities and hospices, especially most of our members are hospices, but they do really apply for membership because with that membership, they can guarantee people that are referred to them that because of this, they have to adhere to certain standards, and that the care then, therefore, they receive at those hospices of that care that their loved ones or themselves as a patient deserve to have access to. So there's also a lot of other advantages through becoming a member, but that is the biggest thing, is really to be part of a group that you can say and be sure of that having this membership, you know that the quality of care is good and of a very high standard.
Absolutely, and I think that's why I curiously asked as well. Let's get into what I think is probably has been a lighter campaign for you guys as an association. Walk us through, firstly, what was the motivation behind this photographic campaign?
Yes, it was a nice idea because we were thinking of how can we really make people aware of the work we do. And it was for us, it was an invitation to really see what we're doing through our eyes, as palliative care eyes, that lens of what is it that we see. And we wanted them to see it's not just the illness we see. We see so much more, that we see a person, the patient, the family members, as holistic beings, as all different kind of needs and the kind of support we can provide. To really see that's more than just basic care or just holding hands. There's so much more to show. And through that, we really want to invite them, lean into the space where we work and see what is happening on ground level. How do we care for people? Who are the people we care for? What are the things that we do? And through that, they can really just connect to what's happening and see that it's so much more. And that's all about dignity and support and also being creative. Because a lot of those photos will actually tell the story of things that you don't expect, things that you don't expect also happening part of end-of-life care, which is just a part of what we do. But so we really want people to be surprised by what they see, and in a way also to make them curious about, okay, what is this kind of work that we do? How can they get involved, or how can I have access to what we are doing?
The initiative also aligned with World Hospice and Palliative Care Day, which is being observed on the 11th of October. It's coming up in just a few days, under the theme Universal Access to Palliative Care.
Yes. So that is actually why we really want to make people aware of and build up to that day where we want to give that message very strongly. That is, it's all about palliative care. It's about to relieve suffering, so people can have, even then, in a difficult time, quality of life. And that especially saying that we want to relieve suffering. All deserve that. We all need to have access to this kind of comprehensive, holistic care. So we can really see that nobody deserve to die in suffering, and for everyone, and that is that to have that access to more people. Unfortunately and sadly, in South Africa, really few people that need or are in need of palliative care have access to that, and that's what we focus on. We want to make sure that what we do, in a way, provide better access to palliative care for all in all communities.
Before I asked you also about the standards for palliative healthcare services, I also want to just quickly, whilst we're on the campaign, for those who might be curious to just glimpse the campaign and take it all in, is it going to be available for viewing for us, the general public? And if so, where?
So it is you can actually see on all your local hospices, membership hospices, on their website there will be a link to that. But also of the APCC, so the Association of Palliative Care Centres website, you will also have all the links to these photos. And we've invited all our membership hospices to send photos that for them typically show something that is the work they do, the kind of work. Who are involved, and you will be surprised to see what a normal day for many of palliative care workers look like. But it's a surprise and beautiful and touching as well. See what is really happening there, and for them to lean in, because sometimes the picture can tell a better story than just the words.
Absolutely. And then just lastly, just a quick little update on the standards for palliative healthcare services, where you'll secure accreditation from the International Society for Quality in Healthcare as External Evaluation Association. What does that all mean?
Well, it is something that we are really very proud of, and it's hard work to really get to that stand, but it's really for us, it is demonstrating and reaffirming our commitment to deliver really world-class palliative care to our members. So it's another way of ensuring people that once they are in our hands and we are taking care of them, that the service and the support and the care and the professional care they receive is of world-class standards.
Hanneke, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. That was Hanneke Lube, who is the board member of the Association of Palliative Care. So you can actually log on to apcc.org.za/World Hospice Palliative Care Day 2025 if you want to see that photographic campaign that we were chatting about. On the other side of the 2 o'clock news, it is October, so it's Dyslexia and ADHD Awareness Month. We're going to touch base there with the head of Department of Speech and Language at the Bella Vista School, see what they're doing perhaps differently or improving on when it comes to particularly catering for students that are diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD. And then we're going to wrap it up with a look into the mental health crisis that's affecting the South African workplace. 2 o'clock news are approaching with Ondelambana.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thank you, Bridget. On the top stories, MPs raise concerns over Parliament's ad hoc committee post-Madlanga Commission, and Trump considers invoking emergency powers to use National Guard troops. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good day. Parliament's ad hoc committee is closed to deliberations. Members are now discussing the way forward after arguing that the committee should not be treated like a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The committee was established to probe KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. He is the committee's first witness. The committee's chairperson is Molapile Khanyane.
I'm going to request we do like this. We must get the report from the team because they are now back, and I'm going to release all people who are not members of the committee. so that the committee makes a decision on the manner of proceedings.
COSATU in the Western Cape says it is marching in Cape Town today for better jobs for workers. Demonstrators are marching to the Western Cape Provincial Legislature and the Cape Town Civic Centre. The protest action forms part of COSATU's program to mark International Day for Decent Work. Corbin August reports.
COSATU says government and business are failing to create enough jobs to keep up with the growth in the labour force. They say government and employers are pushing for changes in labour laws that will make it easier to retrench workers. COSATU's provincial secretary in the Western Cape says they are demanding a moratorium on all retrenchments. He says government should also urgently amend annual performance plans of departments to prioritise the creation of employment and decent work. Corbin August, SABC News, Cape Town.
Supreme Court of Appeal Judge Justice Nambita Dambuza has explained why she believes more people are turning to the Constitutional Court for direct access. She says this is a consequence of giving the people of South Africa access to justice. Judge Dambuza fielded questions from the Judicial Service Commission, which is conducting interviews in Sandton, Johannesburg. She's vying for one of the two vacancies in the Constitutional Court.
Because when people don't get the outcome that they want, they will go look for another avenue. And in instances where one does not necessarily have to go through an attorney, you will get more and more of those kinds of litigants wanting to have a rehearing of the matter.
One person has died and 13 others injured following a crash involving two minibuses in Bredel, Ekurhuleni. Emergency services responded to the scene at the intersection of the R23 and First Road this morning. Emergency services media liaison officer Tiki MacDonald says the cause of the crash is unknown.
All injured patients were treated by various emergency services and transported to different hospitals in the surrounding area for further care. Tragically, one adult male was declared dead on the scene. His body has been removed from the scene by the Gauteng Forensic Pathology Services. The cause of the accident is currently unknown and will be investigated.
President Donald Trump says he's considering invoking emergency powers to overcome opposition to the use of National Guard troops to police U.S. cities. His comments come a day after a judge blocked the deployment of troops to Portland, Oregon. Illinois Attorney General Iskwame Roll.
The executive branch has to follow the law. A president cannot go beyond the authority granted by Congress with regards to deploying the National Guard. And there is no need or justification for a militarized response to anything going on in Chicago.
Recapping the top story, Parliament's ad hoc committee is closed to deliberations. Members are now discussing the way forward after arguing that the committee should not be treated like a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. I'm on Dilambana for SFM News Headlines at 2:30.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes on social media or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 GWMP series, 54-year-old Amos now pays only 1,004 Rand a month. And for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser, 55-year-old Andre pays just 776 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
We have different languages and cultures, but what we have in common is that we all want a dignified funeral and for our loved ones not to worry about money when the time comes. Trust Clientele to provide you with affordable funeral cover that will pay out within 24 hours. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's SAFM to 48031. SMS now. Clientele Life is a licensed life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates, terms and conditions apply.
Spring is in the air, meaning it's almost time for the 10th SA Garden Day on Sunday, the 12th of October. Celebrate the day with a garden party, lunch under the trees, or cake at a community garden, and invite your friends, family, or neighbors to enjoy your garden with you. Visit gardenday.co.za for inspiration and share pictures of your celebration on social media with #GardenDaySA. SA Garden Day, Sunday the 12th of October.
For the best marine migration, you go to KZN. For the best hiking trails, you go to the Drakensberg. For the best flower show, you go to Namakwaland. And for the best in investments, go to Nedbank. Earn up to 10.47% interest with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. For better returns, open an Electronic Optimum Plus account today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launchpad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
I'm not going to lie, Sabawell to be 120 million Rand richer. So have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million Rand estimated jackpot for tonight? Don't delay. Play your Powerball for an estimated 120 million Rand jackpot today for your chance at winning the big millions. Buy your tickets now in store or via the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or you can simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Pusher Play and players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Living your best life on the Full Circle.
I never was your ordinary lover. I never hurt you and just walk away. And though you came to me when I was under, our lives began to move in separate ways. I never thought our love would last forever, but I never wanted things to end this way. Now I lie here cold and alone. Nobody's home, I know I'll make it on my own. It'll turn out right for me, baby, gonna make it on my own. Start a brand new life without you, baby, never gonna be alone. It's not a fantasy, I'm free, baby, and the love we had is gone. Possibilities out there, baby, gonna make it on my own. Whatever you have left me, I'll remember. And loving you was not a waste of time. I know that sometimes I was too short-tempered, but never did you speak your heart and mind to me. And no, I never said it would be easy without you, but I will never put my life on hold again. I may be lying cold and alone, and you may have someone I know. I'll make it on my own. It'll turn out right for me, baby, gonna make it on my own. Start a brand new life without you, baby, never gonna be alone. It's not a fantasy, I'm free, baby, and the love we had is gone. Possibilities out there, baby, gonna make it on my own. You said I'm not the kind of man you need, or maybe you need someone who just agrees. You said I took the music over you, well I guess it must be true. It makes it easier for me, and it's all I like for you. It's all I need to set me It'll turn out right for me, baby, gonna make it on my own. Start a brand new life without you, baby, never gonna be alone. It's not a fantasy, I'm free, baby, and the love we had is gone.
RJ Benjamin. Haven't heard from RJ Benjamin in quite a while. Make It On My Own. He's always busy though, because he's a music teacher, he's a composer, he's a writer, he does a lot of things. RJ Benjamin coming through with Make It On My Own. It's just gone 10 past 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, right here on SAFM, leading the conversations that move the nation. We're going to get into a conversation now looking at October being Dyslexia and ADHD Awareness Month.
SAFM Wellness Talk is brought to you by MedScheme, committed to pioneering inclusive, seamless and quality healthcare for every South African. At MedScheme, we believe that quality healthcare should be within everyone's reach. That drives us to deliver smarter, more accessible health administration and managed care solutions that truly serve the unique needs of our medical aid scheme clients. Through data-driven tech, value-added product integration, and a strong focus on prevention, we're innovating a future of affordable, seamless, and agile healthcare for all. Learn more about South Africa's leading health administration and managed care provider at medscheme.com.
So October marks both dyslexia as well as ADHD Awareness Month. And this afternoon, we thought we'd hone in a little bit on dyslexia, understanding it just beyond the myths and debunking the backwards letters myth. We thought we'd find out more from Sarah Rich, who's the HOD of Speech and Language at Bella Vista School. How are you doing this afternoon, Sarah?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me, Bridget.
Thank you so much for the time. I guess maybe it's always good for us to start at the basics level. Just if we're going to understand what dyslexia is, then let's actually understand what dyslexia is. Like, what is it defined as, and how does it present?
Yes, so it's what dyslexia actually is. It's a specific learning difficulty where the child difficulty spelling and writing, and it's all linked to a whole challenges with hearing sounds in language and processing those sounds. It has nothing to do with intelligence. So someone who might have dyslexia could have a very strong intelligence, but it could just to do with how you actually process those sounds and match them to letters. So that's exactly what it is.
All right. So if it's about processing the sound and matching them to the letters, would that then speak to one of the myths around dyslexia? People will always go, it's someone who writes backwards or reads backwards.
Yes, there's a lot of myths saying things like the letters dance around the page or things like that. But no, it's actually that it's really hard to identify that letter has that sound, and how do you put all those sounds together to make a word, and then how do you store those words in your brain. It's quite a really complex neurological circuit that we activate in our brain when we read and write, and it's really interesting. It's one of the skills that we're not born with innately, naturally. Like, if you're not taught to read and write, you won't learn it. And there's so many neurological areas in your brain that need to fire at the same time to make it able for you to learn and read and write. And for some children, that is harder. They don't have the same neurological circuits programming in the same way.
When it comes to the early warning signs, what are those? What are the early warning signs that parents and teachers alike should be looking out for?
So it's really important to watch and to watch your child. Even in preschool, you can start to pick up areas that might be difficult. So because it's to do with processing the sounds in language, children who find it hard to find rhyming words or identify rhyming words, or find it difficult to syllabify words into their syllables, or else to play with sound. You know how children start to mess around and play with words, and if their name is Sikwa, and go, Sikwa said stop, and being able to play with those sounds. If that is difficult in the preschool years, we're already watching and going, maybe we need to step in and look. Also, in the earlier years, if a child has a speech difficulty, so if they are not saying words correctly or sounds correctly, that can often correlate quite highly with leading to a dyslexia later on. And also if they've got a language learning difficulty, so they find it difficult to learn language, it can also be quite a high correlation later on with later reading and learning difficulty. So those are the early signs. And then obviously once they get to grade 1 or grade 2, if you start to notice that reading is effortful, if the child finds it hard to learn the alphabet, if they don't know what each sound in the alphabet makes, If they are reluctant to read aloud, if it's not comfortable, then we start to worry and we go, okay, how can we step in and help?
Are there particular maybe words or word patterns? I don't even know what the languaging is because I'm not a language teacher. But are there word patterns or languaging patterns that are more common with dyslexia?
So there's different ways you can sort of like languages. A language like English is the most complex languages to learn. There's so many, one letter in so many different sounds, and there's so many different ways you can spell things. So that's actually a phonetically difficult language to learn. So it would result in that it might be harder, and you might see more prevalence of dyslexia in a language where it's harder, if that makes sense. Whereas a language that's quite phonetic and simple is actually it's less obvious. But that underlying neurological plan for that it isn't so easy in your brain would still be there. It would just be more obvious in a language like English, which is very complex.
I see. Now, when we talk about sort of recognizing those signs very early on, right? Some parents, especially parents to younger kids, like, little toddlers, they'll say, oh, no, let's just give it some patience, give it some time. Maybe my kid will sound out words or try to speak or articulate words a little bit later. Maybe they're a little bit delayed. Is that the right approach to be taking? And I'm not trying to be alarmist here because some kids do delay things.
Yes, I hear it's never too early. Do you know what? You would always rather, from the child's best interest, rather go in and give them a bit of support and help them earlier on to prevent build-up of difficulties later on. So I feel like it's never, ever too early, and that is what all the research shows you. The early intervention is the way to go forward to minimize all the effects that can happen later, and also the earlier you intervene, the more chance you have of actually correcting the difficulty so that it doesn't become a lifelong difficulty. So the earlier the better, and I know it might seem like, oh, let's just wait and see, but in general, rather go and ask someone for help. Look up online, there's a lot of advice available, and try and get the help you can early on for the child's best interest. Also, when they're younger, everything is done through play and fun, and they don't even realize that you're helping them. They just think it's a big lot of fun you're having, but you're actually making quite a big difference in their future trajectory.
Absolutely. Let's hit a pause here just to take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll continue our conversation with Sarah Rich, who's an HOD of Speech and Language at Bella Vista School. And of course, we are observing Dyslexia Awareness Month this October. So trying to learn a little bit more and understand more around the interventions, particularly, when it comes to kids that have been diagnosed with dyslexia.
Who's behind the mask? A singing pineapple? A disco dancing tokolosh? It can only mean one thing. It's the Masked Singer US Season 9, the only show where celebrities hide behind wild costumes and even wilder vocals. Is that Beyonce? No. It's your dentist dressed as a giant taco. Unmask the madness, the mystery, and the mayhem. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. S3's got the masks, the music, and maybe your favorite celeb in a flamingo suit. Don't miss it.
80 years of innovation, and we are just getting started. The CSIR, an entity that falls within the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, together with the global sustainable technology and innovation community, presents the CSIR at 80 GISTIC Conference in Pretoria from 8 to 10 October. Held under the theme Science, Technology and Innovation for a Sustainable Future, the conference brings together global change makers shaping solutions for a sustainable future. Catch SAFM live on Wednesday, 8 October for exclusive conversations shaping the future of sustainability. The CSIR, 80 years of touching lives through innovation.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launchpad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
All right, Mzansi, so here's another reminder for you. Have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million rand estimated jackpot for Thursday, today? Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million rand jackpot today for your chance to win and win big millions. You can buy your tickets now in store or via the nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Push or Play. Players must be 18 years or older and play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
I asked my producers who are famous people that have shared with us that they are dyslexic, and all of them shouted like they were playing a game show almost all at once. Richard Branson! I'm going to wait for y'all to say this as a verifiable thing, but they all were like, Richard Branson is the person, and apparently Whoopi Goldberg as well. All right, so some interesting folks. We are in conversation with Sarah Rich, who's the HOD of Speech and Language at Bella Vista School. And Sarah, before the break, we were talking about early intervention being the best way for young kids. And what would that look like? And also maybe just for parents to also understand, because I think sometimes parents are a bit scared to go have their kids assessed for various things, so we'd rather sit in the dark with the unknown. How does assessment, if a teacher suspects something or an ECD worker, caregiver suspects something, what does that assessment process look like for kids?
So I think even if you're, as a parent, you have that, that gut instinct, like I'm just a bit concerned. Even if you've got that feeling, it is worth having it checked out for your child's best interest. So if they're younger, you could start with a speech and language therapist and book an assessment there. There is lots of therapists in private practice, or you can even, if you would like to go to the VITS Speech and Hearing Clinic, they do assessments at VITS. And then you could also look at an educational psychologist who would then run a whole battery of assessments and look at specific areas that might be impacting and making it difficult for the child in that way. So those are the two sorts of ports of call where you would start for this. And then from there, they would make recommendations accordingly. But I think also just go where you're comfortable. So if you're comfortable, you have a good relationship with your teacher, go and chat to your teacher, or the teacher chats to you. And just know that if anyone comes with a recommendation, they're coming with it from the place of the concern for the best interest of the child. And I know it can be quite alarming, and sometimes you might not have seen something and you feel, oh, goodness, but they're not trying to make it more difficult. They want to help your child, and they're trying to give you the best resources to make that happen.
And I think maybe we got to repeat again that, a dyslexia diagnosis doesn't spell gloom and doom for your kid.
No.
As you said, no one's saying that your baby girl and baby boy are not smart. No one's saying that there's anything wrong with them. It's just they learn differently.
Yes, and it's very specifically related to reading and writing, learning differently. But their intelligence is still really strong. They're still able to learn. And if you can help them get that right and learn it in a different way with the right intervention, then you know what I mean? There's so many other skills. And often you'll see that quite a lot of learners who present with dyslexia have got quite strong skills in other areas, usually quite verbally strong, hence, or good at big picture thinking, like good old Richard Branson, or really good actors. There's quite a few actors with dyslexia because they've learned to be so good with their words and you know what I mean, work around that. So it's not something that should be discriminated against, but the right support can really change a child's trajectory.
Absolutely. Someone just texted us to say Tom Cruise also has dyslexia. What do we do at home as family, as mom and dad? What do we implement at home that's practical to also help the situation?
There is so much you can do at home. In fact, I often feel that's the place where you can make the most difference for your child. And it's multifaceted. I think the one thing is that if you've got dyslexia or a literacy difficulty, learning is hard. You're going to have to put in extra effort if you consider how much of the school day is focused on literacy. So part of it is helping that child build up the mindset that we can do this. I can support you. I believe in you, and I'm going to help you get through this, but we can do this together. We can do hard things. because I think that is a mindset you're going to have to help build in your child, that grit, that resilience. And then the other thing is to help them with their learning and their reading homework, break it into but small manageable tasks, and step in and help. Use family members to help, grandparents or whoever's willing and free. And one of the strategies we really like to use is to make learning multisensory. So if you've got that spelling list for the week, take out the words, let's target the first 3, and we're going to do it in the most multisensory ways possible. And this is when you get to be a bit like a child again. And you get to think, okay, can we paint the words out? Can we write them with chalk on the paving outside? Can we go and jump them out and do some hopscotch with the words? And the theory behind that is the more parts of your body you use when you're trying to learn something, the more the neuron starts to fire and develop that neurological connection. So if I write the word in chalk and I feel it that way, then I write it and I paint it, then I sound it out and I hop it. That's 3 different ways that it's now been exposed as opposed to just writing it once on paper. Does that make sense? And that repetition and that overlearning and doing it with multisensory is what will really help the child learn with lots of positive support. So shouting saying, you should know the words by now is not going to help. If we practice it enough, we'll get it right because we can do hard things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then just sort of as we wrap it up, I'm also just assuming that there might be a few of many adults walking around without ever really being diagnosed with dyslexia for a variety of reasons. What sort of advice do we give to them? How do they start navigating different spaces? Because sometimes also as an adult, you know something is different, but you don't want to go and confirm what the difference is, for your own internalization. So how do we navigate different spaces, and what word of advice do we give to them?
So, we are so lucky with the time we live in, with all the technology available that you can use speech to text. You've got your editing on your laptops. You've got ChatGPT to help you with things if you're not sure, etc. So, really embrace technology. But I think what also can be quite empowering and liberating for some adults is actually to get that diagnosis and go, oh, that's what it was all these years. It wasn't that I wasn't able to learn properly. It's just this. You can even, I've even helped some adults at a later stage who say in their workspace now, it puts so much strain on their lives with this literacy difficulty, and working on it at a later stage. So I have worked with adults going back, building up those foundational skills. And once you've built those up, it makes it so much easier. So, it's never too late to get support. There is so much advice online. If you look up dyslexia support, there's Dyslexia South Africa, and use your voice to text, use your editing skills while you're working, and never feel ashamed about it. It's something that we all do certain things differently, and this is just your brain processes reading and writing differently.
Absolutely. Sarah, we appreciate the time with you. That was Sarah Rich, HOD of Speech and Language at Bella Vista School. It's 2:30, almost kind of sort of, with just a few seconds. Ondelambane standing by with the headline news, and then that's going to lead us into our kids programming with Kids Corner.
SAFM Wellness Talk was proudly sponsored by MedScheme, creating a winning health offering through clinical innovation and trailblazing technology.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, the Madlanga Commission has issued Brown Mokhodzi with a notice that informs him of the allegations placed before the Commission that center him in the alleged unlawful interference of SAPS and its affairs. Parliament's ad hoc committee is closed to deliberations. Members are now discussing the way forward after arguing that the committee should not be treated like a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And a minute's silence has been observed in Israel to mark the second anniversary of the Hamas attack that sparked the war in Gaza. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Feel good breakfast show. Channel your inner feel good on Expresso this October, from big global moments like the G20 summit to how it all plays out right here at home.
We are keeping it real this Mental Health Awareness Month with conversations that lift and inspire. And of course, all the good stuff that you love, delicious food, fashion trends, and everything in between.
Wake up with the Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on S3.
This October month, SAFM focuses on cybersecurity awareness. As we live more of our lives online, staying safe in the digital world has never been more important. From spotting cyber threats to protecting your personal data, SAFM brings you the conversations that empower you to stay secure. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello friends, and welcome to our Tuesday edition of Kids Corner. Today let's talk about sharing. How do you feel about sharing? When was the last time you shared something with someone? Who was it? And what did you share with them? Is there something you find a little difficult to share? And why do you think that is? Why do you think it's important for children to learn to share with others? All right, let's hear from some of our friends while you share your answers with the people next to you.
My name is Lubanzi Shangwane. I think something that I find personally hard to share are my feelings. And now that I look at it, I don't share my true feelings with anyone. The only person that knows how I feel all the time is God and Jesus and myself. And I'm fine with that. And it's not because I don't like sharing my feelings or I don't like telling people how I am. It's just because I just have a strong fear of being taken advantage of, because there are people that are so cruel, and then they'll take advantage of that, or they'll use that against you in whatever. So I just really don't like sharing my feelings with anybody, and I'm happy with it. It depends who I share my feelings with. Sometimes I'll talk to my cousins, my granny, my parents, but it also depends on the situation. It depends how I'm feeling and the reason as to why I'm feeling that way. But yeah, my feelings are not something that I really like to touch on at most times. Even if I'm not having like a good day, if someone were to ask me, "Are you okay?" I would say, "Yeah, of course I am." You know, even if you can see the expression on my face, I would still tell you I'm fine.
I actually feel good about sharing because I've learned since I was young that sharing is caring. The last time I shared things with someone was on Friday. Who it was my friend. My friends actually. I shared with more than one person. I kind of gave my friend a 20 rand so we could buy not 10 liter, a 2-liter cool drink, and we ended up sharing it. And I gave a few of my friends some sweets. Why I think children should learn sharing from a young age is because when you learn how to share, you learn how to be much more generous, and you learn how to care more about others. What I would say to children who don't want to share with others, just learn how to share, because that is the key to being able to be a caring person.
Hi, my name is Entle Shabangu. Yes, there are some things that I find hard to share with certain people, not everyone. Yes, I kind of do share it, but with different people, like with my mom, I know I will share it. I'll just tell them, I'd either say, let me go and look for it, even though I know it is, or say, no, I can't find it, or say, or give like an excuse, a really good excuse. Then I know that people will just step back from me. But yes, there are some things that I do find quite hard to share, especially things that were given to me as gifts and not just something that I owned, but something that was a gift from somebody else. I feel like sharing creates different opportunities. You learn how to be a better person with others. You learn how to cooperate with different people.
Hello, my name is Patuma Chete. Something that I found personally hard to share is my cell phone. Normally, I do share it. When someone asks for it, I normally say yes because I want to be kind to that person and I don't want to hurt their feelings. The importance of sharing as children is so that there could be peace between and a healthy relationship or friendship.
Hi, my name is Raflupila Ratogwa. Today I'll be talking about how I feel about sharing my things with other children. How I feel about sharing things with other children is actually okay because sharing is caring. The last time I shared my things with someone was last week Friday. I shared my things with him because he forgot his stationery at home. His name was Benji. The thing that I shared with him was a pen and a pencil. I think that sharing from a young age is important because if you don't share with others, you will end up not trusting each other as friends.
Hello, my name is Dembara Madi. I feel fine sharing my things with other children at school. The last time I shared my things with someone was last week. It was my friend who I shared a puppet with. Children must learn to share from their young age because if you don't start learning to share now, you won't be a good child. Always be the best sharer. Always be kind and caring. Share with anyone you know from your family or friends.
What's up, SA? My name is Butulenko Sweetlamlin. Something that I personally find hard to share is things like ice lollies, crazy pops, or any ice lolly that requires you to suck. I generally don't share it at all. Someone asks me, I usually feel disgusted at first, and then I would say I don't share ice lollies, and I say no in the most polite way possible. We should all share as children. Some things we don't have to share, but the things that we can, we must share. Like if another child doesn't have lunch, then it's good to share with them. All of us as children should share the things we have for those who don't need. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Kabamba. Something I find personally hard to share with other people are my clothes, especially pants. If it is small on me and you want it, I could give it to you. But to share around the clothing I still wear, I just don't do it. Yes, I normally not share my clothes at all. And if someone were to ask me to borrow my clothes, I honestly tell them I don't like sharing clothes around. As a child, to share is to show you don't mind giving some of your things to others. And it is a good thing because you show how kind you are.
Hello, my name is Valentley. I find sharing my age hard. Depends who's asking. If it's someone I don't feel comfortable with knowing, then I don't tell them. The importance of sharing is knowing people care about you.
Thank you, friends. It's always great to hear from you. On this beautiful Tuesday, let's talk about something very special: sharing. Sharing means giving a part of what we have, whether it's toys, food, time, or even love to others. It's one of the kindest things we can do, and it makes both the person giving and the person receiving feel happy. Now think about the last time you shared something. Maybe you gave a friend a piece of your snack at school, or you let your little brother or sister play with your toy. How did it make you feel? Most children say it makes their hearts feel warm and proud inside. Of course, sometimes sharing can be difficult. Maybe there's a toy you really love, or your favorite treat that you don't want to let go of. That's okay. It's normal to find some things harder to share. But learning to share teaches us about kindness, fairness, and friendship. Why is sharing important for us as children? Well, it helps you make and keep friends. It teaches you that caring for others is just as important as caring for yourself. It makes playtime more fun because everyone gets a turn. It shows respect and love for the people around you. When you share, try to notice the smile on the other person's face. That's proof that your small action brought them joy. And guess what? That joy often comes back to you too. So friends, remember, sharing is not about losing what we have, but spreading happiness. The more we share, the more we grow together. That's it for today, friends. See you next time.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
All right, wrapping up the conversation now with my next guest, Navlika Ratanji, who's the MD of Lycra, Southern Africa, and we're looking at the mental health crises in the country, particularly in the workplace, and what employers need to now do. So the South African workplaces are apparently facing a growing mental health crisis between stress, burnout, and lack of support. It seems to be impacting employees' performance. How are you doing this afternoon, Navlika?
Hi, Bridget. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the time. Help us understand this newly released 2025 State of Workforce Mental Health Report that was undertaken by Lycra Southern Africa, or Lycra South Africa.
It's Lyra.
Oh, sorry, Lyra.
Yeah,
why am I
Lyra
adding a
Southern
C there? I don't know. It's my brain. Askies.
Were you thinking of Lycra tights or something?
I think so. Thank you for that.
Sure. Happy to explain some of the trends that we are seeing. There are some deeply concerning shifts that are happening globally and certainly in South Africa as well. Some of the 2025 data that we're seeing shows that stress, burnout, anxiety levels are actually at an all-time high. And they're no longer isolated issues. You know, before we used to say, during COVID as an example, that it makes sense that people's anxiety levels are so high. And that's isolated to that issue. But that's no longer the case. They've really become systemic workplace risks because employees are working longer hours. The boundaries have become so much more blurred between home and work due to hybrid working or remote working. So this idea that employees are always on. And one of the most worrying findings is that while awareness of mental health has increased, and that is thanks to COVID as well, the support that is being offered from a workplace perspective hasn't necessarily kept up to the pace. So many employees still don't know how to access help, or they sometimes feel that it's not safe to do so as well, particularly in the younger generations where there's a higher report of anxiety or loneliness or emotional exhaustion. Which is also calling for more tailored support from a workplace perspective.
You know, as you're speaking, Navlika, around this idea of being always on, right? It's something that's also being perpetuated just in our social settings, on social media, for instance. In recent years, we've seen this regurgitating of, things like you sleep while Beyonce makes money, or insert any billionaire you want to insert while Patrice Motsepe makes money. Very unhealthy, very unhealthy sort of messaging around not getting rest, because how dare you rest when people who are far more successful in their careers and their employment paths are not sleeping or doing so much more than you while you rest.
Yeah. This is exactly true, and that's why I think from the millennial sort of generation and younger, the burnout is actually directly linked to social media burnout as well. And that's exactly to your example, that we're constantly being bombarded with messages of how we should be doing. And so the divergence of reality versus expectation becomes a lot wider, which is impacting our mental health. And so it's not just this comparison culture, which we hear a lot about from a social media perspective, but also in reality, there's still a lot that people say. They make it sound heroic when you are working until you can't work anymore, working yourself to the bone, so to speak. And that rest is, you can't afford to rest. And the younger generation is starting to challenge that. And that's why the narrative within the organization is starting to shift. And more emphasis is being placed on employers taking more responsibility to start to shape what the culture of care looks like within the organization.
Now, with statistics like the 84% of employees that say mental health issues are affecting their workplace, and that's a 24% increase from last year, as your report indicates. Are there... or rather, should I say, why are South African employees not receiving mental health support and mental health care at work? Or is this something that is existing, but we also have the social culture of not reaching out and accessing the help?
So there's several layers to this. The first is access and affordability. So many organizations, and particularly the small to medium-sized businesses as well, they may not have the resources or the infrastructure to offer comprehensive mental health support. Or they think that it might be too expensive for them, without knowing what programs are actually available out there to support them and their employees. The second issue is stigma and awareness. So in many workplaces, mental health is still seen as a sign of weakness. And so employees hesitate speaking up. And often managers are not trained to recognize or to respond to these mental health concerns, which means that these warning signs get missed. And so a lot more awareness needs to happen. And even though we're starting to challenge some of the stigma, and, there are positive signs of that stigma being reduced, and in cases where support does exist, like employee assistance programs, etc., they are often not well communicated in the workplace, and they're not integrated into the workplace culture. So then people don't use them. And so the reality is that mental health support can't just be a policy on paper. It has to be normalized. It has to be visible. It has to be easy to access to make a difference. And ultimately, it has to be championed from the top.
Absolutely. I just want to take a quick break here. We'll come back and continue our conversation.
This summer, the continent unites for the biggest football showdown in Africa. The Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 is coming to your screens, live and available on SABC TV channels, SABC Sport, SABC Plus, and across your favorite SABC radio stations. Catch all 52 thrilling matches, stand behind Bafana Bafana, and experience every goal, every cheer, and every victory from 21 December 2025 to 18 January 2026. SABC Sport brings you all the AFCON 2025 action, live and free, because it's game on everywhere.
For the love of the game.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC One's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso, together with guests, unpack the crisis and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to the Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Why was the bodyguard acquitted on all charges?
There was not enough evidence. By Ntate Malema's own words, the gun was handed to him by somebody else. And part of the charges that Snyman was charged with was that he handed Malema the gun. And already that's already been dispelled with. So if that is already out the way, then how then can he also be charged with count 4? If I'm not mistaken, count 4 was discharging of the firearm. How do you link him to the crime in any manner? So there was not sufficient evidence to find him guilty on the evidence before the court.
Intabi Singh Dubazana, the admitted attorney of the High Court and the founder and director of Dubazana Attorneys.
Ashraf Gada on SAFM. This October month, SAFM shines a light on mental health awareness. This month, we bring you conversations that break the stigma, encourage care, and provide strategies to protect your mental well-being. Because it's okay not to be okay. And together, we can build a healthier tomorrow. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Weaving our way through a conversation centered on mental health, particularly in South Africa's workforce, and why there's a looming crisis then. What must happen? What do employers need to take into consideration? The MD of Lira Southern Africa joins us in this one, Navlika Ratanji. And Navlika, before we went on the break, when we were just talking about accessing help and resources at work, what are some of the more practical steps that maybe employers need to take into consideration when it comes to this conversation around mental health?
The most effective strategies, I think, can be split into structural and cultural elements. So both are actually important. Mm-hmm. Structurally, companies should start by ensuring that there's accessible mental health support, like counseling, coaching, digital well-being tools, financial well-being support, etc., etc. And that they take responsibility for ensuring that employees know where to use it, how to access it, know how to use them. Because then it becomes just a tick box exercise when it's put in place, but it's not really embedded in the support mechanisms that the workplace offers. From a cultural perspective, leaders need to set the tone. And what that means is talking openly about mental health. There's a measure of vulnerability that goes with how leaders need to lead from this perspective as well. So modeling healthy boundaries and training managers to spot those early warning signs. It is important that there is a psychologically safe work environment that is being built where people feel safe to speak up without the fear of negative consequences. either the fear of stigma or even career consequences. That's a critical component, and that also needs to be intentional. It's not going to happen via osmosis. It needs to be a strategic imperative of the business. And then lastly, I think flexibility also plays a big role. So allowing employees some level of autonomy over how, when, and where they work can also significantly reduce stress. Prevention is always better than cure. So regular well-being check-ins, resilience building workshops, promoting work-life integration as opposed to work-life balance. These kinds of things shouldn't be nice to have. They need to be part of the way in which business is done.
Absolutely. Just in closing, my final ask, while still sticking to employers, do you think a lot understand the fact that mental health affects business performance, especially at that top leadership level as well? Do you think there's a consciousness in understanding this, and as you say, then putting strategic focus towards, addressing these issues?
Yeah. The one thing, as I mentioned earlier, that COVID has done from a positive perspective is put mental health and well-being on the map. So there are more leaders that recognize that well-being needs to be a strategic imperative. It's being dubbed as the fourth bottom line at this point. Because mental health is not just a people issue. It is a performance issue, and it is a bottom line issue. But it's definitely not widespread enough in terms of how this is then actually being implemented within the organization. The truth is that poor mental health costs the companies billions every year. In fact, $1 trillion US dollars is lost due to lost productivity every year, absenteeism. Presenteeism costs far surpass absenteeism costs. High turnover is seen 4 times more likely when employees are struggling with anxiety, as an example, or who are burnt out. So employees who are struggling are less focused, they're less creative, they're less engaged. And workplaces can't afford to have that at this point in time. So on the flip side, companies that are investing in well-being are also seeing tangible business returns. They're seeing higher productivity levels, stronger engagement, more creativity and innovation, and better retention as well.
Absolutely. We're going to have to leave it there for this afternoon. But thank you so much for the conversation. That was Navlika Ratanji, MD of Lira Southern Africa. And that is where we wrap it up from our end. Ashraf Gada is standing by on the National Pulse. We'll get to do it again tomorrow. We have another appointment between 1 and 3, inshallah, God willing.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
Thank you, Bridget. And the team on the top stories. Madlanga Commission issues a notice to Brown Mokgotsi, and Israel marks 2 years since the October 7th attacks. For SAFM News, I'm Ondelambana, and a very good afternoon. The Madlanga Commission has issued Brown Mokgotsi with a notice that informs him of the allegations placed before the Commission. These testimonies against Mokgotsi place him in the centre of the alleged unlawful interference at the South African Police Service and its affairs. The notice further informs Mokgotsi of his right to be heard and of the options available to him, which include submitting an affidavit within 5 days. If he declines to be heard, the Commission's chairperson can still direct him to respond or appear before the Commission. Parliament's ad hoc committee is closed to deliberations. Members are now discussing the way forward after arguing that the committee should not be treated like a subcommittee of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The committee was established to probe KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. He is the committee's first witness. The committee's chairperson is Mulapi Likhanyane.
I'm going to request we do like this. We must get a report from the team because they are now back, and I'm going to release all people who are not members of the committee, so that the committee makes a decision on the manner of proceedings.
A group of family members of the late South African ambassador Natim Tetwa have left KwaZulu-Natal for Pretoria and then to France to accompany his remains back home. Tetwa died last week when he fell from the 22nd floor of a hotel in Paris. This group will perform cultural rituals to bring Tetwa's spirit home while his body is being repatriated. Meanwhile, Department of International Relations spokesperson Crispin Piri says President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to make an announcement about the funeral. COSATU Deputy General Secretary Gerald Twala has called on the national government to declare Free State provincial government to be in a state of emergency. Twala says this is because the majority of municipalities in the province